1. The needle in the dark duration. 10 minutes scene 1. The shadow of war 0 o'clock 2 o'clock narrator Ahmad. Second World War II. Japan has captured Burma and is bombing Kolkata. Amidst the chaos of war, corruption is rising, and the old fear of the British law is fading. Legal insight. The CI branch in Delhi takes over cases where local police fail. Under the British Raj, the rule of law was paramount. Even the smallest deviation was not tolerated, unlike the chaotic state of modern legal systems. Scene 2. A suspicious natural death 2 o'clock 5 o'clock The conflict. Daisy, a 26-year-old Christian woman, dies in a private hospital room, allegedly from cholera. Her husband, Daniel, rushes to bury her without informing her parents. The father's report. Daisy's father files an FIR, claiming his daughter was poisoned because Daniel wanted to marry a Hindu girl named Vayanti. The investigative pivot. The British DSP orders the post-mortem to be moved from the civil hospital to the military hospital CAMH to ensure an unbiased report, fearing the hospital staff might be complicit. Scene 3. Forensic revelations 5 o'clock 8 o'clock The autopsy. The CAMH report reveals that death was not caused by cholera, but by a specific poison. The discovery. The poison was not ingested. It was injected into the rubber tubing of the glucose drip. Legal or medical note. The poison was a medicine that is safe in drops but lethal if injected directly into the bloodstream. Scene 4. The failure of the sub-inspector 8 o'clock 10 o'clock The confrontation. Ahmad and Inspector Tinson discover that Sub-Inspector Dioraj intentionally avoided investigating the hospital staff. The favor. Dioraj confesses he was returning a personal favor. The doctor in charge had saved his son's life without charging a penny. Legal concept. This highlights conflict of interest and dereliction of duty, where personal emotions compromise a criminal investigation. Tonight, we delve into a case that feels like it's been ripped straight from a crime novel. A successful young couple, a beautiful home, and a secret that would shatter everything. This is the story of Clayton and Lana Clayton, and the night a single tiny needle changed their lives forever. It was September 21st, 2012, in Lake Wylie, South Carolina. The night was quiet, just like any other in their peaceful lakeside community. Around 2 in the morning, a frantic 911 call broke the silence. It was Clayton Kaufman. He told the dispatcher he'd just found his wife, Lana, unresponsive at the bottom of their basement stairs. He was performing CPR, his voice filled with panic. When paramedics arrived, they found a devastating scene. Lana was gone, and at first glance it looked like a tragic, accidental fall, a terrible accident, but an accident nonetheless. The initial investigation seemed to confirm this. The scene was consistent with a fall. Clayton told police he had been asleep upstairs and was woken by the thud of his wife falling. He said she had been suffering from vertigo and headaches recently, which could easily explain a dizzy spell leading to a fall. Friends and family corroborated this, saying Lana had been complaining of feeling unwell. The medical examiner's initial findings also pointed towards an accidental death. The case seemed open and shut, a grieving husband, a freak accident. But one detective just couldn't shake a feeling that something was wrong. There were details, small things that didn't quite add up, and this detective's intuition would soon unravel a web of deception that was far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. The first crack in the story appeared during the autopsy. While the external injuries were consistent with a fall, the toxicology report revealed something startling. Lana had a lethal dose of Visine in her system. Yes, Visine, the common over-the-counter eye drops. Its active ingredient, when ingested in large quantities, can cause heart failure. This was no longer a simple accident. This was a poisoning. But how did it get there? Investigators now had a murder on their hands, but they had to be careful. They didn't have direct evidence linking Clayton to the poisoning. They started digging deeper into the couple's life. On the surface, they were the picture of success. Clayton was a respected state employee, and Lana was a dedicated nurse. They lived in a beautiful home and seemed to have it all, but beneath the surface, the picture was much darker. Investigators discovered Clayton was having an affair. He had been seeing another woman, and their text messages revealed him and desperate to get out of his marriage. He complained about Lana, about their life together, and expressed his desire for a new beginning with his mistress. This provided a powerful motive. Clayton wanted Lana out of the way so he could start a new life without a messy and costly divorce. But motive isn't proof. They needed to connect Clayton directly to the crime. Investigators started scrutinizing his every move. They looked at his internet search history. Nothing. They checked his phone records, his financial statements. They were building a circumstantial case, but they still lacked that crucial piece of evidence. That's when they turned their attention back to the scene itself. The detective who'd had a bad feeling from the start revisited the evidence from the home. He remembered something from the initial sweep, something that seemed insignificant at the time, a small empty spray bottle, the kind you might use for nasal spray or perhaps eye drops. They re-examined the autopsy photos with this new information in mind, and there it was, a tiny, almost invisible mark on Lana's nose, a puncture. Wound, it was so small it had been overlooked. Could it be a needle mark? The theory was chilling. Clayton hadn't just put Visine in her drink. He had allegedly used a needle to inject it directly into her nasal cavity while she slept. This method would be fast-acting and leave almost no trace. The fall down the stairs wasn't the cause of death. It was the cover-up. It was meant to explain away the signs of a sudden medical crisis induced by the poison. Armed with this new theory, investigators confronted Clayton. His story began to crumble. He'd told police he was asleep the whole time, but phone records showed his phone was active during the night, right around the time Lana would have died. He had claimed Lana was suffering from vertigo, but her medical records showed no such diagnosis. Every part of his story was a carefully constructed lie. The police believed Clayton had waited for Lana to fall asleep, administered the lethal dose, and then, after she passed away, staged the scene by pushing her body down the stairs. The panic in his 911 call, the CPR, it was all an act. The trial was a media sensation. The prosecution laid out its case piece by piece. The affair, the financial motive, the suspicious search for a new life, and the damning medical evidence. They painted a picture of a cold, calculating man who planned his wife's murder to look like an accident. The defense argued that the evidence was purely circumstantial. They claimed Lana was depressed and had taken her own life, staging the fall to spare her family the stigma of suicide. They pointed to the lack of a murder weapon. No needle was ever found. It was a classic, he said, she said, battle, except one of the key players could no longer speak. The jury had to decide, was Clayton Kaufman a grieving husband wrongly accused? Or was he a cold-blooded killer who used a common household item to commit the perfect murder, only to be caught by a tiny, almost invisible clue? After days of deliberation, the jury reached its verdict. They found Clayton Kaufman guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case of the needle in the dark is a chilling reminder of how the most ordinary objects can be turned into weapons and how the truth can be hidden in the smallest of details. It took one detective's nagging suspicion and a team's relentless pursuit of the truth to uncover the darkness hiding in plain sight. It's a story about a web of lies so intricate it almost worked, and a single needle prick that brought it all crashing down. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more true crime investigations. Stay safe out there.